How one student challenged a teacher's view on WW1 causes. So, I'm a history teacher, and every year I host a debate day in class. It's all about discussing controversial historical events and figuring out which side has the stronger argument. It's usually pretty fun, but this one time, a student, Jamie, took it to a whole new level. We were discussing the causes of World War I. Most of the class was on board with the traditional theories, assassinations, alliances, imperialism, all that. But then Jamie, who's always been a bit of a class clown, raised her hand and said, I don't think that's the real reason World War I started. I think it was all a huge misunderstanding. Naturally, I chuckled. A misunderstanding? That's an interesting take. But it's been studied for decades, and historians are pretty sure about the causes. Jamie smirked. Let me prove it to you. Now, I'm confident in my knowledge, so I took her up on the challenge. I said, all right, Jamie, you've got 5 minutes to convince the class that World War I was just a big miscommunication. So, she gets up, starts talking about how different countries misinterpreted each other's motives, how tensions built up without anyone really intending to start a war, and how all the alliances were made in such a rush that no one really thought through the consequences. The class is totally quiet now, listening intently. As she keeps going, I'm starting to feel a little less sure of my facts. She brings in quotes, uses real-world examples of how misunderstandings have escalated in history, and even points to a few obscure treaties that almost prevented the war. By the end, I'm sitting there thinking, wait, maybe she's right. I mean, she didn't outright prove the war was a misunderstanding, but the more she spoke, the more plausible it sounded. I had to admit, Jamie had made a pretty compelling case. So, I looked at the class and said, well, that's certainly a different perspective. They all started nodding in agreement, and that's when I realized I'd just been out debated by a student.